RTO here. Welcome back after our little day of off yesterday. Before we start though, I'd just like to apologise for the sound quality on Sunday's recordings. I found out what it was. For some reason, when I put in my video suite, the connection to the external microphone had gone into default mode, hence it was recorded off my system instead of my microphone, so that's why it sounds quieter. I did try and boost the signal a little bit, but it didn't quite work, so I do apologise for that. That's what happens when you do things on a Sunday. Okay, so we're back to normal now. It was a great day yesterday and a sad one as well. Just showed what us Brits are good at, and that is one thing we're good at in pomp ceremony. Great send off for Her Majesty. Okay, so today we're going to look at one of the newer rock bands, a band that I really like. I like what the sound they're creating and what they're trying to do. We're talking a band called Creeper. They were only formed in 2014. The group they've had change-ups already. These bands. The group originally was vocalist Will Gould, guitarist Ian Miles, and singer Nemati, and bassist Sean Scott, and drummer Dan Bratton. They had a mutual. They were formed because they liked the hardcore punk and post-hardcore groups, and they were from Southampton. Now, they've only released 2 full albums, but they have released 6 good EPs and some solid music on them EPs. So I'm going to include them in this ranking today because I think they deserve some love as well as the albums. So we're going to look at the EPs and the 2 albums. So coming in at number 8 then, we have that 4th EP called Christmas, released in December of 2017. On here this features Will Gould on vocals, Hannah Greenwood on keyboards, Ian Miles on guitars, Oliver Burdett on guitars, Sean Scott on the bass, and Dan Bratton on the drums. So we've got 2 new members for this from the original lineup. First track on this one is called Same Time Next Year. I don't know if it's supposed to be a Christmas song or not. It doesn't sound very Christmassy, but it's a nice song. I like the vocals from Will Gould on this. It's pretty good. Then we get a cover, because this is a Christmas one. It's The Fairy Tale of New York. And I must admit they do a fantastic version of this. It's not as good as the original, of course, but they do a damn good version, and it's certainly better than that awful one that John Bon Jovi did a couple of years ago, which was absolutely awful. So they do a really good version of that, and it is my favourite track actually on this little EP. And then they do a version of Blue Christmas, Elvis Presley cover. It's not a bad version. This is more of it's more acoustic than the original. It's pretty good. Okay, although this is only a little short Christmas EP, it's not a bad listen. But because there's only 3 tracks on it, I can't give it a really high mark. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. It's not a bad 4 out of 10. It's a good solid 4 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 7, we have the 5th EP that was came out in 2021. It's recorded in 2020, and it's called Sounds from the Void. This is just Will Gould, Hannah Greenwood, and Ian Miles. It's more of a this has got just some covers on it, and some really good covers. First cover they do on this one is Pet Cemetery, which is of course a Ramones song. This is a lot slower version than the Ramones. I actually like this version as well. This is a great interpretation of this song, and the vocal between Will and Hannah is terrific. It's a solid song. Then we get My Hey Hey Out of the Blue, which is a Neil Young and Crazy Horse cover. Another really good song. This is done in the vein of the original, but it's a little bit heavier. It's just have to get a little bit more beef to it, and I think they do a great job of this. Then we get a King Dude cover, Spiders in Her Hair. Now, I wasn't too keen on the original version of this, but this version is brilliant. Much better. Love this track. Again, 3 short tracks, but worth a mention. Very good covers, all of them, in fact. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 6, we have their debut EP that came out in 2014, and it's just called Creeper. On here we've got Will Gould on the vocals, Iain Miles on guitars, and Sina Nemati on guitars, Sean Scott on bass, and Dan Bratton on the drums. First track on here, it is called We Had a Pat. I think Will Gould's got an interesting voice. Got a good vocal range as well. The drums here from Dan Bratton are really good. Solid track. Then we get Gloom. Some really good guitar work here between Iain Miles and Sina Nemati. Excellent track. Really strong stuff. These are the first I first heard these. This is when I first heard them, and I thought they were good. Then we get a track called VCR. My favourite track on here. It was just so fresh. And some someone in the younger thing just trying to do some decent rock music. Really strong track. Into the Black, very good song. Love the riffs in here. Very good metal sound. Very, very strong. And then Novena, really good acoustic start song. Gould's vocals are really strong in this. Really good singer. I think this was a great fresh take on rock music in this debut EP. Love this a lot, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Coming in at number 5 then, we've got the second EP released in 2015 called The Callous Heart. This was Sina Nemati's last work with the band. So we've got Will Gould, Iain Miles, Sina Nemati, Sean Scott and Dan Bratton. So the first track's called Black Cloud. Some strong riffs here. The guitar work is really good between Iain Miles and Sina again. It's really good. Great vocal from Will. Strong song. Honeymoon Suite. This sounds a little Green Day. I don't know if they're trying to get on that same boat as Green Day. It's not a bad track. Then we get a track called Allergies. I love this. This is a real old-fashioned style punk song, but done in a modern day sound. Really strong track. Like that one a lot. Lie Awake. Modern day punk again. I think you can say they're sort of influenced by the Ramones in places. Excellent work. Then Henley's Ghosts. Bit of a slower track, some nice piano and bass in this. Really good. Solid EP. Sounds a lot better than that debut. Although the debut is excellent. They've really started to hone in on that sound they wanted. Some great playing and singing on this. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 4, we've got the third EP, released in 2016, and it's just called The Stranger. This is the first one to feature Oliver Burdett. on guitar, and Hannah Greenwood on the keyboards and vocals. So we got Will Gould, Iain Miles, and Sean Scott and Dan Bratton, joined by Hannah and Oliver, sorry. So the first track is called The Secret Society. Like the starter, this is very dramatic. Some nice guitar playing from Iain Miles. Some great riffs. Now Valentine. This is a song that's the song's writing's credited to Cena, who had left, but it's a really good track. Obviously, again, very Ramones. I love that track. It's really strong. Black Mass. Great bass line here from Sean Scott. Scott really does drive the song along. Excellent track. Then we get my favourite track on this one, Misery. It's a slower song, but the vocals are really good. Some nice backing vocals on this as well. It's a really nice song. And then Astral Projection. This is one of them tracks that you get gentle bits, hard, heavy bits, and Will Gould's voice sort of changes for the different sounds. Excellent track. I think with this band, every release they sort of got better. I mean, the addition to new members have really changed the sound again, but it's a really good sound. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we have actually got the debut album called Eternity in Your Arms from 2017. So on here we've got Will Gould on the vocals, Iain Miles on lead guitar and backing vocals, Oliver Burdett on rhythm guitar, Sean Scott on the bass, Dan Bratton on drums, Hannah Greenwood on keyboards, vocals and violin. First track on this one is Black Rain. Great song. Love the production on this. You've got the great vocals and some really delicate backing vocals from Hannah on this really strong song. Poison Pens. Combination of punk and metal here. Great track. Suzanne. Another good track. The drumming from Dan Bratton is good. Plus you got a lovely bass line from Sean Scott. Pretty good track. Hiding with the Boyds. This is an excellent track. The harmonising between Hannah and Will are brilliant. It's just, you know, she's got a lovely voice. And then we get another version of Misery. They've made it even better. They've tweaked it a little bit. It's still I'm going to put both versions on because I think this is a really good version. Pretty good. Then we get Down Below. Great opening bass and guitars again. Room 309. Brilliant track. Apart from Misery, I'd say this is my favourite track on here. The drumming on it is brilliant. Real punky rock song. Very short, but absolutely lots of guts and in this one. Then we get Crickets. Another lovely little song. Now at the start of this you get the sound of the crickets, and then you get Hannah on the violin, and then she sings as well, like just the lead vocal. It's a lovely song. Fantastic stuff. Darling. Again, it's so much of that influence of the post, the punk and the Ramones. Really good song. Win Over Forever. This is an interesting one. It's got elements of punk rock, but some really good guitar work as well that's not punk rock. It's a fantastic track. I Choose to Live. The piano on this from Hannah is really good. Soft, gentle. It reminds me some of that early Muse, and I mean that this is going back to showbiz days. It's got that sort of sound to it, and it builds up into this crescendo, and then goes back into the slowness. It's a really strong track, and I would say this is my favourite, definitely my big favourite on this album. good way to end it as well. It's an excellent debut album. I think having the beauty of having those EPs before, they sort of crafted their sound before the album come out, and I think that's very clever. And so when the album come out, they'd been recording for a little while, and they got exactly what they wanted. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we got the second album, released in 2020, sorry, Sex, Death and the Infinite Void. That's the same lineup as the first album, so they've got this solid album of lineup of Will, Iain, Oliver, Sean, Hannah and Dan. First track on here is called Hallelujah. Love the start of this. It's got Will Gould's voice is good. Solid track. Be My End, very solid track again. Sounds great. The keyboards from Hannah on this really give it an extra depth. You know, they've come on leaps and bounds since the debut, and the sound on that is really good. Born Cold, I love them guitar stabs at the beginning, really deep. Absolute belter of a track. Cyanide, my favourite track on here. The guitar work from the two guys is brilliant. It's a very 70s rock song with some lovely keyboard work here from Hannah. Excellent track. Then we got Celestial Violence. It's just an 18-second spoken thing that goes straight into the next track. Annabelle. Again, we've got some lovely keyboard work here from Hannah. Very good pianist. Some great guitars on this. Excellent track. Paradise, an interesting track. It could have come straight out of the late 60s. Very psychedelic, some great guitar tones on this. Poisoned Heart, a very good track. Very good bass line here from Scott. Showing again that the bass line drives the songs, and the vocals between Hannah and Will are fantastic as going. Thorns of Love, lots of this is a 50s sort of ballad song. Really good singing as well on that. 4 years ago. This is more like, you know, the Walker Brothers from the 60s. You know, their songs were a little bit, but this has got more oomph behind it. The orchestral sound is brilliant, and it's a great vocal from Hannah. Terrific track. Holy War, it's another spoken piece that goes straight into Napalm Girls. It's a great little rocker. One of my favourite tracks on this album. Then The Crown of Life, it's another little intro that goes straight into Black Moon. The bass and piano on this just amazing. Very good, solid modern day rock. Fantastic stuff, that track. All My Friends, this track's all about pianos and strings and Hannah's great vocal. Excellent stuff. Be More Careful With Your Heart. And it's just like how the album started, really. A nice little piece. Great sophomore album. It's one of the best ones, you know. It was hard for them to follow up from that debut, because that debut was very strong, but could they deliver the goods again? Yes. And the sound is really maturing on this album, and it's only their second album. It's a great sounding album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So my number one, and it's actually an EP, and it's their sixth, and it's their most current one. It's released. The last album, the second album, was released on the 31st of July 2020, and within the year we had American Noir, and it's the first release since the departures of Oliver Burdett and drummer Dan Barton. So on here we've got Will Gould on vocals, Ian Miles on bass, guitar and bass, Hannah Greenwood on keyboards and pianos and vocals. We've got Sean Scott on bass. We've got Zandy Barry on keyboards, Randy Cook on drumming on some of it. Keel Fur drums on this and Dan Bratton. So the first track is a little intro called Midnight Militia. Eerie, dramatic, really great intro, which goes straight into the track Midnight. Some lovely piano here from Hannah, and then you get a great vocal from Will. Really great rock track. The solo on here is amazing, and the backing vocal from Hannah is terrific. Then we get my favourite track, and I'll say this is my favourite track by Creeper. It's called America at Night. It is a brilliant song. It reminds me so much of In Excess's Never Tear Us Apart, and it's got an amazing guitar solo on it. Awesome stuff. Ghosts Over Calvary. The sound of the band keeps developing, and this has got a great vocal from Hannah. She's becoming a really important part of this band. It's a terrific track. The Drawing Room. This is one of these little openers. It's half a minute eerie intro which goes straight into One of Us. Great track. I love the atmosphere on this. Will Gould's voice is coming in leaps and bounds. He's maturing into a great singer. Fantastic track. Damned and Doomed. Superb vocal from Hannah. She's got a great voice. Fantastic. And then we get this little outro called Frozen Night. It's eerie as the intro. Excellent. Although this is only an EP, I think this is the best thing they've ever put out. I can't wait for the next album. I think it's probably out next year, we hope. I'm looking out for that one. It's just, this band's like a bottle of wine. It gets better and better with age. I think these are an excellent band. There's not many good new bands I like, and this is one of them. I do love their sound, and I think I love the introduction of Hannah Greenwood, who's a fantastic musician and singer. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. There we go. If you've never heard Creeper, go and check them out. I'll put a handful of songs in a playlist for you to listen to, but go and check them out. They are really good. As I said, I only discovered them about a year, probably a year ago, although I recognised stuff off that EP, the very first EP. It was more last year that I really got into them. So we got another retro ranking coming up today, and we're going to look at the king of the slap bass, his band, yes, Mark King, and Level 42. So join me for that later. So bye for now.